Really lacks somebody who during crunch time could say, hey, let's go, we're not going to lose this ball game. And the other area would be the center position. Well, nobody really feels that there's a center right now in this draft that can turn a team around and make them into a championship caliber team. But there are a number of people who could be take charge people. Especially the player that comes to mind would be Gary Payton. Gary Payton, to me, Doug, is the guy that can really do the job for the Sonics and take care of one of those voids that they have.
I really like this kid. First of all, he's an outstanding defensive player. He has size and range. I think he can play both guard positions. I think because of the success of the Detroit Pistons, you're going to see a lot of teams go to 3-guard rotations. You see Dallas get Lever to go with Blackman and Harper. You see the Pistons. You see the Bulls get a Hobson to go with a Michael Jordan and maybe a B.J. Armstrong or Paxson. I think he's the kind of guy, he's a player that has star potential. And what you're trying to do at this position is get that kind of player rather than get an average big guy. If you can get an outstanding big man, there's no question you have to do that. I think Gary Payton is the guy that they're going to take.
And you know, another interesting thing is the changes that'll take place philosophically with Seattle with K.C. Jones coming out there as the head coach. What are your feelings about the changes that he would bring going out to replace Bernie Bickerstaff as the head man on the floor?
Well, I think one thing, Bernie was there and K.C. were there together last year, so it's going to be a smooth transition. It's not like K.C.'s coming into a situation he does not know. He knows the players. He knows what they have to get accomplished. I'm sure there's a great working relationship. Those guys have been together for a long time. That's the most important thing. Coach, general manager, to have that kind of feel so that they want to get the same things accomplished every time that they step foot out on the floor.
We've heard some rumors, and you hear a million of them. That's one of the fun things about covering the draft, about Kevin McHale maybe having a possibility of going out there to Boston. I know it didn't make Larry Bird very happy.
Yeah, there was a lot of talk about that. In fact, the rumor was that I guess they offered Dana Barros in their position in the draft to try and get him. I don't really see that makes a whole lot of sense for them. It doesn't really fill the voids that they have. Payton, to me, is really a great pick for them if they choose him. I think he would really help the ball club, but it's going to be interesting to see what they came up with. I think the only thing that could have changed them not taking Payton would have been had the Nets passed on Coleman. Since that didn't happen, I'd be very surprised if they do not pick Gary Payton.
All right, let's find out who the Seattle Supersonics take. Here's David Stern.
With the second pick in the 1990 NBA draft, the Seattle Supersonics select Gary Payton from Oregon State.
There is Gary Payton. He is 6'4". He is an excellent guard who played at Oregon State, and most people really believe that this young man has tremendous leadership qualities, which is one of the things, as our fellows told you here, that the Seattle Supersonics are going to be looking for. He averaged 25.7 points per game during the 1989 and 90 season at Oregon State, and he is the number 2 player selected in the 1990 draft. So not surprising you fellas at all.
No, it really doesn't. Doug, I get back to you take a look at Gary Payton, and I said earlier about Coleman, he's improved every year that he played. Some numbers for Gary Payton: 12.5 points, 14.5 points, 20.1, 25.7. This is a guy that's getting better.
Well, you look at his strengths and weaknesses. He's a great passer, ball handler. He has tremendous confidence. This guy may be the best talker in the draft this year. Questionable shot selection, and late in the year he faltered. And a question about why that happened. He said that it was loaded up with 2 or 3 guys in the NCAA tournament, but this kid has got tremendous potential to be an outstanding NBA guard.
Well, you just saw there, he can go inside, he can dish it off, he can shoot the ball outside. He also will play some defense. You obviously can see right there, he can handle the basketball, he can penetrate. He's a heck of a basketball player, and the Sonics are getting a great pick, and it's going to help their team immensely.
Among the other people happy about this is Gary Payton's mother. By the way, Gary was the runner-up in the one-on-one competition held in Atlantic City to Bo Kimball.
The second pick in the 1990 draft is Gary Payton, who is also number 2 on the NCAA career assist list, also number 2 NCAA in steals, second in the Pac-10, single game scoring behind Kareem, but the first choice of the Seattle Supersonics. Were they your first choice?
Yeah, I wanted to go to Seattle, stay in the West Coast, stay near home, and I thought that I help Seattle out. I think they needed a leader, and I'm glad they took me.
Well, you see Gary Payton's got star quality. The first thing you notice is he's got one of these earrings. Charles Barkley and a few other guys have those, and that's what they expect out of you at Seattle. A lot of small, quick guards. Are you going to be concerned about how to defend against those people at all?
No, I don't think so. I think my defense will hold us on. I don't have to do anything. I think I'm quick with all the other small guards, and all I'm going to do is just try to learn the game first for a couple of years and then just try to establish myself.
All right, Gary Payton, he said he's going to learn, but I see that earring. I think he's going to start very quickly.
You know, a lot of people get drafted second. They go to a team with a losing record. You go in with a team that was 500. What difference will you make to the Seattle Supersonics?
Well, I think I would bring a little leadership there. It's just a dream come true for me to go to so many premier players that can score the ball, and I can get them to them. And I'm just hoping that I can get them to 9-game wins and we can get in the playoffs.
Okay, the number 1 pick of Seattle, Gary Payton. Now let's go back to Bob Neal.
Thanks, Craig. Now up next will be the Denver Nuggets. Denver 43-39 last year. Denver finished 4th in the Midwest Conference. Denver is without a general manager. Pete Babcock went to Atlanta, so it'll be interesting to see what their decision-making process was with their owners and with Doug Moe. Let's go to David Stern.
With the 3rd pick in the 1990 NBA draft, the Denver Nuggets select Chris Jackson from LSU. So the first early entry player to be selected is Chris Jackson, who left LSU after his sophomore season. Chris Jackson was an All-American as a freshman, an All-American as a sophomore. He's hugging Dale Brown, his college coach, and Chris Jackson had said he had learned to respect and appreciate Dale Brown a great deal while he was playing there, and said that when he made his decision, he got a great deal of support from Dale Brown.
And he got a great deal here too, Bob, I can tell you that. Because Doug Moe, I know, really wanted Chris Jackson, but some of the other people were thinking perhaps Scott. Well, in the passing game, with his size, he couldn't be on, I think, a better basketball team to be able to take full advantage of the talent that he has. A very exciting, charismatic guy. They're worried about Adams because of the problems he had with his hamstring. You can see he can shoot the ball off the dribble. One-on-one moves are outstanding. They talk about his weakness, defense. Doug will get him to play some defense, playmaking skills. In the passing game, you don't have to worry that much about how great a playmaker you are. I think he's a very fortunate young man and will be real happy playing for Doug Moe.
I agree, and I think another thing that what you want to think here too, Denver is a team that's making a lot of changes. They can sell to the community. Chris Jackson, a young, exciting player. They're trying to sell tickets. They're trying to get that organization excited about their ball club. They're in a new start. So basically you've said we've moved Fat Lever. We're going with a young Chris Jackson. I think the kid has star quality. I liked him, especially as a freshman. I thought he was sensational.
Let's talk a little bit more about Denver and how Denver does have to do some rebuilding, because they've frankly been on a plateau, an inability to really move ahead once they get to the playoffs. So obviously that home court advantage with altitude is a strength, but you start getting into needs. Of course, Alex Inglis is another situation out there, and they've got now the guard that really fits in well to the motion offense, to their passing game. Denver still needs, however, some inside strength. Might we expect some more activity from Denver?
Well, I'm sure they'd like to do things, but you know, they're sitting there, and you know, what can they do? You know, you've got to have value to get value, and I'm sure that Doug Moe has tried to wheel and deal, and Carl Scheer out there, they've been in charge of what's going on. But you know, in order to get something, you got to give something, and there's not been a lot of interest in a lot of the people there in Denver.
I want to go back to Chris Jackson for a moment. This is a very young player. Came out after his sophomore year. There were a lot of people who thought that maybe he was too immature personally to come into the NBA. Any feelings about that, Rick Barry?
Well, again, I think had he gone to another ball club, it could very well have been a major factor. But being with Denver and being in that passing game and playing for a coach like Doug Moe, I think it's going to help him.
1, 2, 3!
He is amazing.
What else can you say?
What a play! Big shot! Oh my goodness!
The crowd is going wild.
If this isn't the best game in league history, it's up there. Holy smokes!
This is what the WNBA is all about.
Unbelievable!
Great first step. Incredible. Indeed. That was remarkable.
He is smoking.
In fuego. Front base. Showtime. Chris Paul. What an electrifying talent. Oh, my.
Doug Collins and Rick Barry agree, which doesn't happen often, but they both say there's no better opportunity than the one that awaits you in Denver. How do you feel about going to the Nuggets?
Well, I feel very pleased. I'm glad that they picked me. I'm going to try to do whatever I can to add a little bit to their team. You know, I just thank God he's given me the abilities that he's had, and I thank God they picked me.
Well, Chris, you've been looking at that hat. You shook your head a couple of times. Are you kind of shocked by the fact that you were taken third by the Nuggets?
I am shocked a little bit. You know, this is like a dream come true, and I never thought something like this would happen for me. I'm just glad that they picked me, and I'm going to do whatever I can to please them.
You came out early. Your idea of coming out early was to make it in the NBA. The Denver Nuggets, of course, are a team that feature offense. You have a lot of offensive skill. Are you concerned at all?
Not at all. I don't think I'm not concerned at all about my offensive skills. What I'm trying to do is get a little bit better on my defense and get everybody involved. And I think that, you know, with the Denver Nuggets, hopefully I'll be able to do that.
Some say there are no definite impact players in the draft this year, but you scored 53 points your 5th game for Dale Brown. Maybe you can do the same for Doug Moe. Let's go back to Bob Neal.
Thanks, Craig. Next up in this NBA draft, the expansion team Orlando. Orlando with 18 wins last year, and of course a team that, being an expansion team, needs a lot of different players, so they can use a guard. Obviously one of the questions is Dave Corzine and his health, and Doug, you coached Dave in Chicago. What's the thought there?
Well, you know, Dave had a serious knee problem. What happens with expansion teams is they get killed in the middle, you know, and when Dave was healthy and playing early, they had a very good month of November. They were a 500 ball club. They lost their big people, and the rest of the season was a disaster for them. They have great fan support there. The organization is in place. They know which direction they want to go. I think it's very interesting, Rick. What we've seen in the draft already is little people going ahead of big people.
Well, let's go up to the commissioner. We're going to find out about Orlando right now.
With the 4th pick in the 1990 NBA draft, the Orlando Magic select Dennis Scott from Georgia Tech.
Another early entry player, Dennis Scott, coming out of Georgia Tech. After his junior year, Dennis Scott's decision was whether or not he would be a lottery selection. Well, he is, in fact. He is the 4th player selected. Dennis Scott, one of the best strokes to come out of college in a long time. This man has 3-point range.
Well, he's a big-time shooter. Now you've got 2 outstanding players. You've got Dennis Scott and Nick Anderson. Nick Anderson, a rookie last year. So the Orlando Magic have 2 very, very good young players now that they've added to the organization in the last 2 drafts.
You know, a lot of people have talked about the fact that perhaps they might go ahead and want to go for a big guy, but a guy like Scott who can fill it up, shooters are really at a premium. Also, the Magic don't figure they're going to finish real high up in the standings next year, so they're going to get another shot to perhaps go for next year's draft where there might be some big men who will be available. You see, they say weakness, ability to control weight. Well, I can tell you, when you make the kind of money that he's going to be making and he wants to go ahead and have a chance to be a star, he'll lose the weight. He lost it going into into his last year at Georgia Tech, and I think that he will get the weight down. I mean, this is a guy that has a tremendous future in the NBA because, again, pure shooters are just a dying breed. They've got to get more of them.
With the great Scott, as he was called at Georgia Tech, here's Craig Sager.
Well, thanks, Bob. A few months ago, your mother, Elizabeth, said if you didn't graduate, didn't say the 4 years, she was going to kick your behind, but now I see she's all smiles. It's all been worthwhile.
It has. She really has done a lot for me. She's been a big inspiration for me because she worked so hard for me to get to where I am today. You know, that's one of the main reasons why I came out, just for her and, of course, you know, for myself and for my life being.
When you talk about doing things for yourself and your parents, of course, that's a given. The team wants you to do something for them. What can you do for the Orlando Magic?
I think, first off, you know, I can come in and give them a positive player that's going to give them 110% every night, even if it's cold or hot. And I think it's going to be a good situation for them. We're going to be young. We're going to gel together. I know Coach Williams is really positive. I met, you know, Coach Gukas, and he's really, you know, trying to build the program up fast.
Well, it's the end of the Lethal Weapon 3, though. Maybe we'll hear from Brian Oliver later.
I hope so. I hope good luck for him.
The 1990 NBA draft from the Jacob Javits Center in New York, along with Rick Barry and Doug Collins. This is Bob Neal, and you see the Charlotte Hornets will be up next. They'll make their selection, but let's stay for just a moment with Dennis Scott and Orlando, fitting into the Orlando basketball system.
Well, Bob, I think when you're an expansion team, especially where they are right now, you have to get the most talented people you can get on your roster, regardless if you've got 2 outstanding small forwards, because the more talent you have, then the more strengths you have to deal with. And I think that they made a great pick in Dennis Scott.
I agree with Doug. I think it'd be foolish to go ahead and waste a pick that high up in the draft to take a player, a bigger player, just because of the fact that he's big when he at best might be a backup. So why waste that? Get a guy who's really a talented player, and then hopefully down the road you'll have an opportunity. And next year people feel there are going to be a lot better big men coming out.
Okay, up next, the Charlotte Hornets. So let's have a look at what Charlotte's looking for. Remember, Alan Bristow is there now to give them front office leadership. First of all, just quickly, Doug, you're thinking on Charlotte and what they'll be looking for.
Well, I think they're going to go point guard. Knowing Alan Bristow, I had a chance to spend some time with him. I think they're going to go Kendall Gill. I think they feel like he can play both guard positions, and you could put he and Rex Chapman together, and it's going to give them 2 big guards, 2 young guards in the backcourt. Remember, Rex Chapman should be in this draft.
That's right. He was an early entry also. Kendall Gill, you're thinking also?
Yeah, no question. Talking with the people down there, Kendall Gill will be the guy that they like. They feel that he has the most ability of those players who are left.
All right, well, let's find out. Let's go to David Stern, the commissioner.
With the 5th pick in the 1990 NBA draft, the Charlotte Hornets select Kendall Gill from Illinois.
There is Kendall Gill from the University of Illinois, the 5th pick in the 1990 draft. Kendall Gill didn't play in any of the postseason tournaments, but he certainly had himself a good career at the University of Illinois. Some people wonder how his intensity and aggressiveness will be in the NBA, but of course that's always a question with a young man coming out of college. He's 6'4", 190 pounds, averaged 20 points a game for the Illini in the 1989 and 90 season. So Kendall Gill, here's a look, Doug Collins, at his strengths and weaknesses. Maybe not a great outside shooter.
Well, he's going to get better. The one thing I like about this young man, he went to the University of Illinois. He was a skinny kid. He lifted weights. He got stronger. He got better every year. Rick will go through his stats here, but we talk about the progression of a player. Every year this kid got better, and on top of that, his team won. And I think that's one thing. When you're getting in a situation of an expansion team, you want a guy who is a proven winner. I really like this young man.
Well, you say the question is shot. You saw pretty good form in just watching it right there. Nice follow-through on it. You see he can go inside. He can come in and get on the boards and do some hard work inside there as well. I mean, he's a fine player, a fine athlete, a guy that with some work, you can go ahead and make the transition into a point guard, also play the 2. He'll work on the shot, a hard worker. 4 points, 10 points, 15 points, 20 points. Again, that nice upward progression you like to see.
Okay, let's meet Kendall Gill. Here's Craig Sager.
Well, thanks, Bob. You visited 6 teams. You told me a few moments ago you thought you'd go to the Clippers. Unfortunately for LA, you were not available 8th. What about the Charlotte Hornets?
Well, I'm looking forward to going to Charlotte because they have a good nucleus of ball players, a great coach in Gene Littles, and I'm looking forward to playing with Rex Chapman and J.R. Reed, who really should be in this draft right now.
Kendall, your parents were in there smiling and beaming. You came up here with a lot of poise and presence. You know you're going into a tough situation. Your thoughts about going in this position right here, what it means to you now?
Well, first of all, I thank God for giving me the talent to even be considered to play in the NBA. I think I'm going into a good situation because the team is right on the brink of winning, and I'm just really looking forward to playing in the NBA.
You're going from one hotbed of basketball, Illinois, to another, North Carolina, but you're used to being on winning teams. Will that be an adjustment?
I think for a little while, but I think, as time goes on, we'll be fortunate enough to win some ball games, especially with players like Rex and J.R. Reed.
Through NBA Cares, NBA players are able to make a lasting impact, whether we're building homes or playgrounds for kids and families, stressing the importance of education, or encouraging young people to lead an active, safe, and healthy lifestyle. Our goal is the same, to help strengthen and improve our communities. On behalf of the NBA and all of its players, I'm Kobe Bryant of the Los Angeles Lakers. The NBA, where caring happens.
Through NBA Cares, the NBA family demonstrates its responsibility as citizens of the global community. Whether it's our Basketball Without Borders program that takes us all over the world, or our efforts to strengthen and improve communities here at home, we work to leave a lasting impact every place we go. It's our way of showing that the NBA cares. On behalf of the NBA and all of its players, I'm Ray Allen of the Boston Celtics. The NBA, where caring happens.
Derek Coleman, the first selection in the draft, a forward. Dennis Scott, a swing man, but most people think he will play at a forward position, even though he's a tremendous outside shooter. But you said this was heavy with guards and stocked heavily with the gunners and shooters. Next up will be Minnesota. Might another guard go, or will we see a big man now?
Well, Doug, this is, to me, interesting. This is going to have such an impact on what's going to take place following Minnesota. Minnesota themselves earlier today were still not sure if they were going to go big, small in their 2 picks or small, big. Now, if they go big, small, that really makes things interesting. If they happen to go small, big, well, then I know a number of teams underneath who are really interested in some shooters are going to be disappointed, and there will be a lot of scrambling. I tend to think, because of what we talked about, Doug, again, about not wasting a pick on a big man who might only be a second string player, to go with a quality smaller man, they may very well go small, big. And if that's the case, then I kind of look perhaps Mays, Kimball, or Ramil Robinson would be some names that would come to mind, unless they want to go a little bigger, and you've got Burton and Simmons there.
Well, Willie Burton is a kid who's in their backyard. I happen to think that Bill Musselman and Billy McKinney might go with Travis Mays. This kid is a shooter. He's a tough player. You take Pooh Richardson, you take Tony Campbell, you take Tyrone Corbin. He might fit right in there. Again, these young teams must stockpile talent. They don't want average, they want talent. I think Travis Mays might be a surprise guy here.
All right, let's find out from David Stern, the commissioner, on who Minnesota is selecting.
With the 6th pick in the 1990 NBA draft, the Minnesota Timberwolves select Felton Spencer from Louisville.
Well, there you go. The question was whether they would go small, big, or big, small with their 2 picks. It is big. Felton Spencer, most people think, was probably the best bet among the big men to go. Felton Spencer out of Louisville is a 7-footer as a center. He's shown a lot of improvement since he concluded his college play at the University of Louisville, and that's something, of course, that means something. He's an underdeveloped scorer, but he's a banger. 7 feet, a little bit over 7 feet, 265 pounds. Felton Spencer and Minnesota and Bill Musselman, as usual, unpredictable to some degree, and they go big.
Well, they did what we said they possibly could do. Of course, I felt they might go small, but obviously they feel that he has the potential to be a first-line player. Some other people do. You see, he has improved daily. He went from 3 points to 7 to 8 to 15 points while he was playing down there at Louisville. Low post offense, hey, you can always work on that. Speed and leaping ability, again, if he was willing to go out there and work hard, everybody said he's a project. So in their mind, with the opportunity to go to a team like that and perhaps get a lot more playing time, he may very well be able to develop into a first-line player. See a little bit of his moves inside, Doug.
I think the one big thing about him, he can catch the ball, he can go up with power, deliver it. He's got a big body, he can set screens. And the one thing about it is, Rick, you can't put a premium enough on guys who are going to work hard every single day. This guy's going to have to play 100 NBA games or 90 NBA games. You want a guy that you can put X number of points, rebounds in the bank and know that you can count on him consistently every single night. I think this kid showed that in his years at Louisville, he's gotten better every year.
Minnesota really couldn't go wrong either way that they went. They decided again to go probably big, small. So it'll be interesting to see how he develops for them.
All right, that'll probably make, as Rick had pointed out, some of the other teams happy, because it will make some more of those shooters and gunners available. Felton Spencer's mom, and now let's meet Felton Spencer.
And after a nice look at your mother, Betty, you said you thought you'd go to one of the expansion teams. You're going to Minnesota. Bill Musselman likes hard workers. That's what they're saying about you. What do you think of Bill Musselman?
I think Coach Musselman will be a guy who really pushed me and helped me to develop pretty quickly, and I'm looking forward to playing for him.
Well, Felton, you gave us a big sigh of relief, and you said, I made it in. I mean, was that your biggest concern as you sat back in the green room waiting to see where you'd be selected?
Oh, yeah, it's pretty tough sitting back there waiting to see where you're going to go, and I'm happy to be going to Minnesota. I had a good time when I went down to visit them. I'm looking forward to playing with Pooh Richardson and Tony Campbell and all the guys on the team. They have a lot of great players.
Your statistics in college improved every year. How do you feel as maybe your impact on an NBA team your first year, or is it going to take a while?
I think as far as my ability, I think I'll go in and I'll continue to work hard and hopefully to continue to improve as I have in the past at Louisville. And I think I'll be able to come in and help the team a lot on the inside with some rebounding and whatever it takes.
Well, good luck. Felton Spencer goes to the Minnesota Timberwolves. And we will continue our coverage of the 1990 draft from the Javits Center in just a moment. Up next, Sacramento.
Rebound the ball. We got to run him. We got to run him.
'90 NBA draft. We're ready for the 7th pick now. Sacramento will make that selection. Sacramento was busy before this draft started. They got involved with some trade activity, the first big trade of the draft, as a matter of fact, as we approach this date. It was a 3-way deal. Sacramento already has Eric Lechner and Bobby Hansen, plus Utah's 1990 number 1 pick. That's at 23, and number 2 pick at number 49, and Washington's 91 second-round pick. You see that Jeff Malone went to Utah and Ellison to Washington. We'll deal with that later, but Sacramento then made the trade with Dallas. So what is our thinking here for Dick Motta, Sacramento, and what we'll expect from him?
Dick Motta loves forwards. He's a forward-oriented coach. When Chicago, you think of Bob Love, Chet Walker. He's always been a team. You talk about Aguirre and those kind of players. I think Lionel Simmons, and Rick and I have talked about, will be the guy here. They've gotten rid of Rodney McRae. They need a small forward. I think he's the ideal guy to go out there.
Lyle Simmons, the Naismith Award winner, and he was a player that really performed well in college. Some people said his stock fell a little bit after the colleges, but maybe not that far.
I tell you, nowadays getting picked, number 7? Not too shabby.
Let's see. We think it is Lionel Simmons. Let's find out for sure now from David Stern.
With the 7th pick in the 1990 NBA draft, the Sacramento Kings select Lionel Simmons from LaSalle.
Lionel Simmons, surprising nobody, going to Sacramento. A small forward. He is a scorer. As I said, a lot of people thought maybe he would be a top 5. Now he goes at 7. It's not that big a deal, and I'm sure he won't consider it that way. He can rebound and shoot, handle the ball some, create, can even block the shots a little bit. This is a pretty good all-around small forward.
Well, you saw him hugging Bo Kimble there. Bo Kimble ought to get ready. He'll probably walk right after him next to the Clippers. So those guys are going to stay buddies, and looks like they're going to be his 7th and 8th picks.
Bo Kimble and Lionel Simmons and the late Hank Gathers all played high school ball together.
And there'll be just a short commuter fight from one another, maybe in Sacramento and LA.
So Lionel Simmons, you see, averaged 26.5 last year. If there's a question about it, whether he can handle the quick forwards on the perimeter. The quick forwards in the NBA, of course, the great athletes.
Well, you know, you think about Lionel Simmons. He can rebound. He can put the ball in the basket. I think he has great court awareness. He's a guy that maybe he's not going to beat you with tremendous speed or quickness, but he's going to find a way to get his shot. And you know, his team also was a very winning team. Speedy Morris took over that team, and they became an excellent basketball team, losing very few ball games.
As mom looking on, he showed a lot of consistency. He also improvement, but he started off gangbusters. He started off at 20 points a game, and he went up to 23, 28, right up around 27. So, I mean, this is a guy that's a heck of a talent, and I think that they're going to be very happy to have him in Sacramento. I know Jerry Reynolds will be.
Craig Sager's with Lionel Simmons right now.
Well, thank you very much, Bob. And of course, it's a time of anticipation. You don't know exactly where you're going to go. When did you first have an indication, a visit maybe to Sacramento, that you may be a King?
About noon this afternoon, I got a call from Sacramento. Coach Dick Motta called, and he said they were very interested in drafting me, and they said it was probably a 75% chance of going there if they didn't make any trades.
100% chance that you'll have a great chance for success out there because Dick Motta loves forwards. Have you seen any of Dick Motta's teams play in the past?
I definitely have, and he stressed that when talking to him this afternoon that they don't have a small forward. I would be able to come in and play a lot of minutes, and I think that's very important because young players have to learn on the court as opposed to on the bench.
And next up, the Los Angeles Clippers. The Los Angeles Clippers, a team with a lot of young talent. They've had injury problems historically that I'm sure you're very aware of. Of course, they're hopeful that Ron Harper will come back and heal up after his knee injury last year. Mike Schuler's a new coach at Los Angeles. Los Angeles, a place any young player would like to go. The Clippers, a team on the rise.
Well, Bo knows L.A. He started out at SC. He played for Loyola Marymount. He's going to stay with the Clippers. You can mark it in right now.
That's exactly right. They're going to love him down there. And the thing, as good a player as Ron Harper is, Ron doesn't have the consistency of the outside shot. And Bo, of course, big enough that he might even be able to play some small forward at a time. And they can have a lot of versatility in that lineup. Mike Schuler's going to have a lot of fun with those great players. I tell you that.
Remind everybody, Bo Kimball's already made some money, and the draft hasn't even happened yet. If in fact he's the guy, Bo Kimball won the one-on-one tournament down in Atlantic City, so he came in with $100,000 before tonight. Here's David Stern.
The 8th pick in the 1990 NBA draft, the LA Clippers select Bo Kimball from Loyola Marymount.
Bo Kimball from Loyola Marymount. Played high school ball at Dobbins Tech, as we said, with Hank Gathers and Lionel Simmons. He now goes to the Los Angeles Clippers. He was on the all-tournament team at Orlando, the pre-draft camp, one of the 3 primary tryout camps for these players after their college careers. Has great big guard skills, and from the one-on-one tournament, he can score inside, he can score outside, and he's going to be a contributor. How will he fit in, just in a nutshell here, with the Los Angeles Clippers?
Rick, the first thing you see is Charles Smith, their power forward, meeting him with a hat. He's already saying, pass me the ball. These big guys all want the ball. Good luck.
I know, because you saw those statistics up there, 35 points a game, over 50% shooting. They say weakness. I mean, you're really stretching to look for it. I mean, this is an exceptional young man. More, even more so than the fact that he's a great athlete. He's a terrific person, and I think everybody realizes that, and the Clippers are delighted to have him as a part of their organization.
Bob, you talk about this young man, all right? He says that he's going to shoot his free throws left-handed in the NCAA tournament in memory of Hank Gathers. He not only shot them, he made 3 for 3, hit nothing but the bottom of the net. This kid is a quality kid, great speed, quickness. I think he's going to be a tremendous NBA player.
And he has a sense of perspective, too. He said also his first free throw in the NBA will be left-handed. And then he said, we're putting that behind us. I'm going ahead with my career. We're going to have fond memories of Hank Gathers, and I will move on, and now get a chance to move on with the Los Angeles Clippers. Let's meet this outstanding young man, Bo Kimball.
Well, it's been an emotional 24 hours, but probably no match for the emotional year you've had. Any way to express how it finally feels now to sit here and say, yes, I'm in the NBA?
Well, actually, it's definitely a dream come true. The LA Clippers is a team that I wanted to play for, sitting in that chair, and to have everything come out so perfectly. God is so great.
Well, Bo, you got the reaction that most New York people give the New York pick. You got a lot of friends back here. Certainly, you've got a lot of friends out on the West Coast. Charles Smith was here. So you're already a Los Angeles Clipper. They feel very good. Offense is one of the things that you do very well, but in the one-on-one, you showed you could play some defense.
Yes, I think that's been the doubt all year, that if Bo can play defense, and I went to Orlando, did well defensively, and played the one-on-one, beat some of the top guys defensively. So I think now that everything is clear, I do play D.
So now we got the T-shirt, Bo knows defense, right?
That's right.
Lionel Simmons and Bo Kimball go 7 and 8. Up next, the Miami Heat. Join us as we continue our coverage of the 1990 NBA Draft from the Javits Center.
Lakers lead the Celtics 113-111.
Well, they're going to try and make a steal here, and they got their best defensive team in there right now.
And the Lakers, keep in mind, do not have to take a shot.
It goes quickly in now to Magic. Back over to Worthy, and it's picked off. Goes to Hamilton, he lays it off and out. It's all tied up. A great play by Henderson.
For a minute there, I could hear Johnny Bruce going, Henderson steals the ball.
10 seconds, Kobe Bryant against Christie. Kobe Bryant on the move against Christie. In for the right, flips his shot up, no good. O'Neal lays it up, missed it. Ball tipped out to Laurie, straight on three. Good! The Lakers have won! Robert Horry's greatest hits tour continues.
No doubt about it. He's got to be getting a Grammy for that one. Isaiah Thomas is hurt down on the court underneath the basket. I couldn't tell what happened.
And this is a tough one. Holding his right ankle, Billy. 8-point lead for the Lakers. Thomas with a looper scores. 2-on-1. Thomas goes up. And Isaiah Thomas having an incredible period.
And the thing about Isaiah Thomas, he's limping on every play.
Can you imagine the great performance, maybe one of the best we've ever seen in one quarter in NBA Finals history?
103 left in overtime. 101-99. Here's Iverson. Lou the defender. Stays right with him. Allen wants to go. Wants the baseline. Fade away. Yes!
He's way too good. He steps around Lou and drilled it. And the Sixers have scored 9 in a row.
7 straight points by Iverson. Looked like he was dead in the water. The Sixers by 4. 40 seconds left.
And back at the Javits Center in New York City, along with Rick Barry and Doug Collins, this is Bob Neal with the 1990 NBA Draft. And let's have a look at what has happened so far. The number 1 pick, Derek Coleman out of Syracuse. Gary Payton went to the Sonics. Chris Jackson to the Nuggets. Dennis Scott to Orlando. Kendall Gill to Charlotte. Felton Spencer, the first big man to go, the real big man, went to Minnesota Timberwolves. And Lionel Simmons went to the Sacramento Kings, followed by the selection you saw just a moment ago, Bo Kimball going to the Los Angeles Clippers. And coming up now, the Miami Heat with an opportunity to draft next. And Miami has done pretty well with their drafts in the past. Cycling played well, of course. Sherman Douglas did all right. They had some problems in terms of the disappointing play of Glenn Rice. They expect him to do a little bit more. So what do we think about Miami? First of all, Doug?
Well, I think the one thing they've done is they felt like that they needed 2 players rather than 1. They had the 3rd pick. They made the deal to go 9-15 with Denver. They have a couple different ways they can go. If they go small, you're thinking of a Willie Burton. He can play 2 positions, small, forward, big guard. If they go big, you're talking about a Kessler, Alec Kessler, Loy Vaught, or a Tyrone Hill. So, Rick, I don't know what you're feeling in.
Well, I agree with you there. I think that the consensus down there, although will have to come out as to who is going to be better. Will Burton be better than some of the big guys? And that's going to be the major decision. But I think that those are the 3 players that they perhaps are considering, and they very well may lean towards the better athlete of the 3, and that very well, I would think, would be Burton.
Well, Miami can certainly use the help. Only 18 games did they win last year. Let's find out from David Stern.
With the 9th pick in the 1990 NBA Draft, the Miami Heat selects Willie Burton from Minnesota.
Willie Burton from the Minnesota Golden Gophers, the 9th overall selection in 1990, goes to Miami. Willie Burton is you might call him a prototype type small forward. He is a guy who can really help them, as Doug told you. He's 6'6.5" is one of his listings of his height, and his weight went up and down a little bit. He started 203 coming out. He's gained a few pounds. He says all muscle since he came out of college. Here's this look at the strength and weaknesses of Willie Burton.
Go ahead, Rick.
Yeah, when I hear people, you talk about people saying, hey, he's a little thin, he can't play. I remember a skinny guy back in 1965 who weighed about 190 pounds, about 6'7.5", and I really didn't have much problem going in there and play. I mean, if you're competitive, if you have some strength, you can compete in this league without having to be any kind of a big brute force, but it's nice to have the strength. You don't have to have the big body to go with it.
Willie Burton, the selection of the Miami Heat. There's a look at his mother. and Cycli and Douglas, and Miami is looking like a pretty good roster down there with some young players.
They really are. You know, you think that they've got Sherman Douglas. We're going to take a look at Willie Burton now. They've got a Glenn Rice. You remember Kevin Edwards of a couple years ago. So they're starting to put together a good young ball club. I give them a lot of credit. They've lost some ball games, but you know what? They have not wavered in the way they want to build that franchise. Give Billy Cunningham, Louis Chappelle, and those people a lot of credit down there that they have a plan. They're going to stick with it. They're going to continue to add talent, and they're going to get better every single year. Hopefully be able to put something together that'll last for a long time.
Now let's go to Craig Sager and meet Willie Burton from University of Minnesota.
Well, thank you, Bob. Everybody, after they were drafted, showed some sort of emotion, but you seem to be more excited than anybody.
Well, definitely. This is a chance and a dream come true of a lifetime, and I feel that if that emotion is there, then you should show it.
You showed a lot of emotion, but you also showed a lot of heart because you fought your way into this position. Into the season, Minnesota played well, but you played better in the postseason tournaments. Did you have a plan going in?
Well, my plan was just to go in and show them what I could do other than what they saw the 4 years. The 4 years I was at Minnesota, I was in a position to help the team, and that was primarily what I did. And I was satisfied with that, but I wanted to let them know that I could do other things also, and I think I did that.
Having grown up in Detroit, playing in Minnesota, what about going to Miami? Do you like the warm weather?
We'll find out.
You did well when you were down in Orlando, the MVP of that postseason tournament that they had.
Yeah, I did pretty good. I think I did a lot of things that they were looking for. Handle the ball, shoot the ball, some defense, check off guard in the open court.
With the 10th pick in the 1990 NBA draft, the Atlanta Hawks select Rumeal Robinson from Michigan.
Rumeal Robinson from the University of Michigan. Everybody will remember Rumeal Robinson hitting those big free throws to win the NCAA tournament a couple of years ago. Rumeal Robinson, 6'2", a point guard, a Terry Porter type player, some people might say. And of course, since he's just coming out of college, remember I emphasize Terry Porter type player. Robinson can drive. He has a medium range jump shot, some pretty good defense, pretty good finisher. Not a bad player. Is he, however, the classic two guard the Hawks need, Rick Barry?
No, I don't think he is the classic two guard that they need. But again, this makes me tend to feel that they're really very concerned about Doc Rivers.
Well, I think that one thing is that he's been a proven winner at Michigan. He takes his team to the NCAA championship. You see what he can do. He has a very strong NBA body. He's going to be very durable. Questions are his free throw shooting, his shot selection. But you have to remember, he played on a team this year with 4 guys who all wanted to shoot the basketball. That might have been survival this year as much as anything else.
Yeah, they had a lot of talent on that ball club, and you can always practice your free throws and get a little bit better there, but he also does give them some more leadership. It's going to be interesting to see what he does, but a fine athlete, as you can see, tremendous strength, big, strong legs, able to go to the basket.
Did you know children are dying because of AIDS?
Did you know a child is orphaned every 15 seconds?
Every 15 seconds.
AIDS is devastating children and young people's life around the world.
Millions
are losing parents, teachers, brothers, and sisters.
Children are lacking the knowledge they need to keep themselves safe.
They need your support.
Basketball is just a game. This is real life for millions of children.
UNICEF works in over 150 countries to stop the devastation of AIDS.
We can create a better future.
Take the step now.
Unite for children.
Unite for children.
Unite for children. Unite against AIDS. AIDS is devastating children and young people's lives around the world.
Millions are losing their parents, teachers, brothers, and sisters.
They need medicine, food, education, and protection.
UNICEF works in over 150 countries
to stop the devastation of AIDS.
We can create a better future.
Unite for children, unite against AIDS.
Well, some teams look for a player upon which to build a foundation. Others look for a player for that missing piece for an NBA title. You led your high school team to a state championship. You led Michigan to an NCAA title. Ramil Robinson, what do the Atlanta Hawks need?
I think the Atlanta Hawks just need a little guidance, and hopefully I can have the opportunity to lead them to an NBA title. They have a great team, and I just think they just need that one mind to go with the team.
I know he visited 7 teams, Steve, but I think this is the one he wants to be with.
Well, you know, he looked at that hat, and you looked at that hat just like Chris Jackson. What is it about these hats that they're giving you guys that seem to be so special tonight?
I really think it's, as you sit here, you're really not sure if you just, made it to the NBA. It's true, it's a dream come true, and, I'd like to thank my mother and God and everybody that's really looked after me through my life. And you really don't get the opportunity to thank those people that really care about you, and I really would like to thank them.
You have done it now. You're on your way to stardom. The best of luck for you. I'll tell you something. You're from Boston. You'll learn to hate them.
Ramil Robinson, now a member of the Atlanta Hawks. Let's go back to Bob Neal.
Join the club. That's a young man who had problems with dyslexia when he went into college and had trouble even getting into the University of Michigan, but he graduated with a 2.9 grade point average, so you can see that he is an achiever. Ramil Robinson goes to the Atlanta Hawks. The last 2 picks, both Big Ten players. Willie Burton from the Minnesota Golden Gophers went to Miami, and Ramil Robinson out of the University of Michigan goes to the Atlanta Hawks. Ramil Robinson, as I say, I always remember him hitting those free throws when Michigan wins the championship. So yes, he did not have a great free throw shooting percentage, but he hit the clutch ones, that's for sure. Now let's go to the next one, and this one's one that's fun because we talk about everybody worried about what Don Nelson's been doing. He's been blowing a lot of smoke, maybe, about Dwayne Chintzes. Is he going to take him or not?
He's got his chance. They need a center. They've got to get bigger. They have very skilled, smaller players. Here's his chance to get his man.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what Nelly's going to do. And there's the man that everybody's talked about.
All right, let's go to the commissioner now for the next selection.
With the 11th pick in the 1990 NBA draft, the Golden State Warriors select Tyrone Hill from Xavier.
Tyrone Hill is not one of the players who is here in New York right now, so we won't get to meet him personally. But Tyrone Hill was the selection, and once again, Don Nelson, we can say now, was blowing a little smoke about talking about Dwayne Chintzes. But he went to a very good player in Tyrone Hill. Tyrone Hill, as you see, is 6'9", 245 pounds. He is an aggressive rebounder.
Well, that's what they need. Last year, they just got killed on the boards. And when you talk about weaknesses, offensive skills, when you have Chris Mullin, you have Hardaway, you have Mitch Richmonds out there, you're going to score points. You've got to be able to get the basketball. Nelly likes to run. This kid is a big-time rebounder.
Yeah, he's very strong inside. And, when they got rid of Larry Smith, they really were suffering in that area. Jim Peterson was hurt. He really didn't do much, but Bowl can block some shots. He's not a rebounder. This young man can go inside and get some boards down there for Nelly, and obviously he was blowing some smoke. But I'll tell you, this pick is going to make it real interesting as to see what happens now with the picks below, because a lot of people like Tyrone Hill who are going to be picking behind Golden State, and so Nelly's screwed some people up again.
Well, I think also, too, they must know that Alton Lister is pretty healthy after his surgery, knowing that Alton will be able to step in and play center. If this young man can play power forward, they get Peterson back. Now they've added 3 pieces to the puzzle, their front line they did not have last year.
So a lot of people thought that Golden State, because they played so much with that, quote, small lineup, would like to get a little bigger, and they have, in terms of effectiveness, gotten bigger.
Oh, no question, Bob. The thing about it is that, it wasn't like Nelly wanted to play that way all the time. Nelly didn't have much of a choice to try to survive, and he did a great job with that situation that existed out there. But now with this addition, I think, as Doug pointed out, that they're going to be a team that will be extremely competitive again next year. Nelly's not a guy that's going to have a team stay down very long.
Now, another interesting situation is that situation in Houston. Houston, with Akeem Olajuwon at the center, has been disappointing. Houston has not been able to move as far along as they would like. They had a disappointing season. Houston is an interesting team. They are up next. What are our thoughts on the Houston Rockets?
Well, their strengths are they have Olajuwon, they have Thorpe. What do they need? They need to think about possibly replacing a Sleepy Floyd. They need a point guard, a shooting guard, The things that come into my mind right now, you think about it, you talk about Travis Mays. He's a young man that's played there in Texas. That's a possibility. Also, D. Brown from Jacksonville, a little jet of a guard that can leap, that can penetrate, but they need to add some speed and quickness, some shooting into their backcourt.
Yeah, I agree with Doug. I think that Mays would be the choice. I think they like Robinson also, with Robinson, of course, being chosen already, that they very well are going to go for Mays. They want to get some shooting. They want to get some help in that backcourt, and I would think that would be the logical choice. Had Burton or somebody like a Simmons been available also, I think they could have been interested in one of those players as well. But right now, Mays and perhaps D. Brown, but it's going to have to be a guard, I would believe.
You know, Rick, when you have a powerful inside game, all Olajuwon and Thorpsey are double teams, and when they can come down and pack it in, you've got to have guys that can expand that defense. And we talk about the premium on shooting the basketball. I think Houston has to add a shooter here.
Yeah, and that's why we talked about that this draft is really, my top gun saying and that I thought it would be all shooters coming after the big man as far as Derek Coleman goes. But again, Minnesota did sneak in, go big, small, contrary to what we might have thought. But everybody else really here has been a shooter, a guy who can shoot the basketball, who's a scorer, who can do things out there. And that's the kind of draft that it's been. And Houston fits into that category, a team that needs somebody to shoot the ball from the outside to help the big guys inside.
All right, let's update just who's been selected in this draft so far. The 1990 NBA restocking of talent. Jacob Javits Center in New York City, the #1 pick out of the University of Syracuse. Derek Coleman went to the New Jersey Nets, surprising almost nobody. Then it was Gary Payton, the outstanding guard from Oregon State, who went to Seattle. Another guard, Chris Jackson, went to Denver, who had traded with Miami to get the #3 pick. And if Denver stays with that Doug Moe motion offense, he'll fit in well. Dennis Scott, the great outside shooter, small forward swing guard. Kendall Gill, excellent guard, also a #2 type guard, a big shooting guard, went to Charlotte. Minnesota took Felton Spencer, the center out of the University of Louisville. Lionel Simmons, the Naismith Award winner this year, small forward, went to Sacramento and will play for Dick Motta. The Los Angeles Clippers took Bo Kimball, so now Los Angeles with 2 Bos, one playing football and one playing basketball. So Bo will know Bo shortly. Willie Burton went to Miami. He's from Minnesota. Atlanta selected Rumeal Robinson. Golden State and goes with Tyrone Hill. And now we will be coming up with the Houston Rockets. And the Houston Rockets with Akeem Olajuwon at center has been a question. We've heard rumors before about everybody trying to make a trade with Akeem Olajuwon. But you have to figure that when you've got a franchise-type player that he'll stay put and they'll try to place players around him. We'll find out right now in just a moment, though, who will be selected by the Houston Rockets as they will select number 12 in this draft. They could use a point guard. They could use a shooting guard.
1, 2, 3!
She is amazing.
What else can you say?
What a play! Big shot! Oh, my goodness!
The crowd is going wild.
If this isn't the best game in league history, it's up there. Holy smokes! This is what the WNBA is all about. Unbelievable!
Great first step. Incredible. Indeed.
That was remarkable.
He is smoking.
In fuego. Buckfish, showtime. Chris Paul, what an electrifying talent. Oh, my!
12th pick in the 1990 NBA draft, the Houston Rockets select Alec Kessler from Georgia.
Whoa! Whoa!
You hear
the first curveball of the evening here. Major curveball.
Whoa! Alec Kessler is from the University of Georgia. He is a microbiology major. This is a man with near perfect GPA. He also averaged 21 points a game, 6'10 and a half, and he's very smart, yes, runs the floor. Not a great leaper. Some people said that there may be some similarities with Alec Kessler and a player like Tom Chambers at Phoenix. Do you agree with that, Doug?
Yeah, and I also think that there might be something going with a trade later on, that someone wants Alec Kessler, that they couldn't get to him. Houston needs a guard. I mean, you can talk about all you want, but with Thorpe playing heavy minutes and with Olajuwon playing heavy minutes, it would surprise me if this young man stayed in Houston.
Yeah, I mean, this is a shocker to me. I knew things were going along too smoothly here with our choices, but they really hit us with this one. No way in the world do you figure that they're going to go for a big guy. Certainly doesn't fill one of the glaring needs that the team has, and I have to agree with Doug. There very well might be something going on. You see again the needs: a point guard, some shooters at the 2 and 3 spots. We're not looking at a guy of Kessler's size that's a real need for them. So obviously something else may be going on, but we don't know.
Might explain this, by the way, if there is a trade during the draft, the trade can't really be consummated until the team that was going to select later to make a trade in positions makes the deal. So that's why we say something might be going on. We won't know until whoever that team is might make a selection. We'll just keep our eye on this. Now let's go to Craig Sager.
Well, thank you very much, Bob. After graduating from Georgia, 3.91 grade point average in microbiology, you had time to visit 9 teams. What about going to the Houston Rockets? Were you surprised they took you?
A little bit. Right before they were talking about needing a shooting guard, a 2 and 3 spot. But I did visit there just last Monday. So, since I visited, I guess I thought it was a possibility.
What about a little bit surprised, or come on, tell me?
I was very surprised. I mean, I was shocked, I got to admit, but I'm very happy with it, and I love Houston, so that's great.
You also have the opportunity to go on to medical school. Your brother Chad is there already. What has he told you? Should you stay in the NBA, or should you pursue possibly becoming a doctor?
He tells me to work on my ball handling as much as I can, because medical school is no fun, especially for the first 2 years. So.
Well, smart move by the Houston Rockets. The scholar athlete for the past 2 seasons, Alec Kessler from the University of Georgia.
Well, the top 12 players have been selected in the 1990 NBA draft from the Javits Center in New York City. Usually this draft coverage comes to you from the Felt Forum, but we're a little bit further west in New York City at the Convention Center. Derek Coleman went first. It was Peyton, Jackson, Dennis Scott, Kendall Gill to the Hornets, Felton Spencer. Lionel Simmons went to the Kings. The 8th pick in the draft went to the Los Angeles Clippers. Bo Kimball went there. Willie Burton to Miami. Rumeal Robinson from Michigan to the Hawks. Tyrone Hill went to Golden State, surprising some people and really surprising us and a lot of others. The Houston Rockets taking Alec Kessler. Alex from the University of Georgia said he too was literally shocked. So we think potentially there could be a trade going on. If you'll recall from past NBA drafts, sometimes a team at a position like Houston was at 12th will take a player hoping to be able to work out a trade with a team later in the draft who'll be taking a player, say a guard that Houston would like. If they get that guard, then they make the swap. We make the announcement. That's probably going on now. At least that's our feeling.
Keep your eye on Miami here. Miami maybe, I think, really liked Alec Kessler. The possibility they might want to do something, maybe draft a point guard later on or a shooting guard and make a deal with Houston. So let's keep our eye on that.
Okay, now the Los Angeles Clippers just selected just a moment ago. You saw the strength and weaknesses. Los Angeles Clippers now, they got Bo Kimball now. Rick Barry, what do we think?
Well, they were hoping to get Spencer. And Spencer, of course, going to Minnesota early on.
Big, maybe?
Going big. I think they want to go big. I think they like to get it back up. You don't know about Benoit Benjamin here, so I guess the only real big man that's out there would be Causwell as far as a pure center. Let's see what happens.
Okay, here's David Stern. We'll find out.
With the 13th pick in the 1990 NBA draft, the LA Clippers select Loy Vaught from Michigan.
So the second University of Michigan player to go in this game, Loy Vaught. Vaught is a power forward and a player that I know Doug Collins likes a lot. Some people say that he's got the potential rebounding-wise to be a Charles Oakley type. Doug, what's your thinking about this player?
Well, if he can be a Charles Oakley, then he's going to be tremendous because Oakley is as good as there is in the game at rebounding the basketball. I like this kid. He runs the floor very well. He's got soft hands. He's an underrated shooter to 15 to 17 feet. He played on a very talented team, and you still look at the numbers that he threw up there. Weaknesses, you talk about, the success of the Michigan grads in recent history. You've talked about the problems of a Roy Tarpley, Gary Grant going to the Clippers, having some injury problems. We'll see now what Loy Vaught does, but I like his upside. He's a big, strong power player.
Well, again, obviously they didn't feel that either the two centers, Coswell or also Shinsis, was good enough to be the player that they wanted. And right now, as you watch a little bit of action, you get the chance to watch Vaught playing, you can see the nice little move, a little turnaround shot, good touch there. And again, powerful player inside, works real well, can block some shots and rebound. And they like him, obviously. But now, I'll tell you right now, if I'm Mike Schuller, I'm saying, man, I can't wait to get to training camp, because you talked about having some talent to work with. I mean, with him added on to the likes of Charles Smith and Danny Manning, and you get a healthy Harper back. I mean, this could be a powerful ball club. A Bo Kimball, watch out, Clippers.
All right, let's go up to Craig Sager now and meet Loy Vaught from Michigan.
Well, thank you very much, Bob. And this is probably the busiest man in the offseason. You went to camps, you tried to improve your game, you also visited 12 teams. How do you feel about going to the Clippers?
I love the Clippers. All my life, I've been superstitious, and people say 13 is an unlucky number, but today is real lucky for me. And I want to say I'm coming to see you, Gary.
He's got some friends out there in Los Angeles, but the thing I'm impressed with is he's got a handshake of a man. It's a man's position that you're going to play power forward. How do you feel about playing against some of the bigger people in the NBA?
It's going to be a challenge, but everything in life is a challenge, and I'm going to have to extend a lot of hard work to meet the goals that I've set for myself. I've come a long way in this game, and I think my best basketball is in front of me, and hopefully it'll remain to be seen.
Well, the Clippers got a lot of camaraderie going. Charles Smith has been here. He shook your hand. I know he'll be happy to see you when you get out there.
Oh, yeah, maybe I can come in and help him get some rebounds so he can get more offense going. But I like to play under the paint. Rebounding is my specialty, and I hope I can provide that for the Clippers.
And, of course, Gary Grant's be very welcome to see you out there. Bo Kimball wants to talk to you over here as well.
All right. Again, Gary, he told me that he had heard some stuff about me coming to L.A. He was right, and I'm coming to see everybody, and it's going to be great having Bo as a teammate.
One happy man to be an L.A. Clipper. Let's go back to Bob.
So 2 players from Michigan have been selected, Rumeal Robinson and Loy Vaught. There are 2 other players who are potential first-rounders from Michigan in this draft also, Sean Higgins and Terry Mills. If all 4 players were to go in the first round, it'd be the first time in history that 4 players from one university went in the first round. That's yet to be seen. Coming up next, we have the Sacramento Kings with their second pick of this young draft.
Yeah, and I tell you, there's some very disappointed people back there in Sacramento right now, because I know that they really like Loy Vaught. They also like Tyrone Hill. Both of them have gone, and maybe somewhat of a surprise. And so now they have to decide. Obviously, they were thinking big in this position. You talk about, well, Coswell is a guy that's still around as far as a big guy in Shinsis, and Dwayne keeps slipping down a little bit further here in the draft. You see the strengths. Tisdale, they've gotten Carr, some nice strong forwards. They certainly obviously could use a center. I think right now that Coswell looks like the one logical choice if you're going to go big.
Well, also, too, there's a lot of speculation they want to move Danny Ainge, and if they move him, then it leaves really Vinny Del Negro as one of their only guards out there. So let's see where they go, Rick. Big, small.
And Mays is still out there.
That's right.
Through NBA Cares, NBA players are able to make a lasting impact, whether we're building homes or playgrounds for kids and families, stressing the importance of education, or encouraging young people to lead an active, safe, and healthy lifestyle. Our goal is the same, to help strengthen and improve our communities. On behalf of the NBA and all of its players, I'm Kobe Bryant of the Los Angeles Lakers. The NBA, where caring happens.
Through NBA Cares, the NBA family demonstrates its responsibility as citizens of the global community. Whether it's our Basketball Without Borders program that takes us all over the world, or our efforts to strengthen and improve communities here at home, we work to leave a lasting impact every place we go. It's our way of showing that the NBA cares. On behalf of the NBA and all of its players, I'm Ray Allen of the Boston Celtics. The NBA, where caring happens.
14th pick in the 1990 NBA Draft, the Sacramento Kings select Travis Mays from Texas.
Travis Mays from the University of Texas, a 6'2" big guard. He was also on the all-tournament team in Orlando, a penetrator. He can stop and pop. They say has NBA three-point range, pretty good defender. When you take a look at his resume, this is a very solid basketball player.
Not only that, but he's a tough kid. And remember, Dick Motta had tremendous success with a guy named Norm Van Leer as one of his guards. I'm sure that this kid reminds him a little bit of that kind of player. A very tough player, terrific competitor. They needed a guard. I think this was a very good selection for them.
And I tell you what, Bob, I don't think they felt that he was going to be available. You can see his statistics there, 24 points, 5 rebounds, a little over 2 assists, but again, a very strong player, can shoot from some distance, and Sacramento probably very pleased that he managed to slide down to that spot. They were going to go big only because I think they didn't feel that they could get a quality guard. They feel they've got one in Mays.
Well, the Sacramento Kings are going to have to wear name tags. They're going to have so many new players, 2 in the draft. They've already picked up 2 in the trade. So Travis Mays, shot selection, yes, maybe a weakness, but he is a good player. He can penetrate and he can shoot it from outside.
Well, what I like, it says the first thing, it said big-time competitor. When you play 90 to 100 games a year, that's what you want. This kid is not afraid to take a big shot. He'll put his body on you, and I think he's going to be a very solid NBA player.
And there's the family of Travis Mays, and let's go to Greg Sager.
Well, thank you very much. And apparently you knew you were going to the Kings, so surprised to some people, but the tie is so color coordinated. You got the Kings colors on. You look great in that hat.
Well, thank you very much. I didn't exactly know I was going to Sacramento, but I'm glad I wore a matching tie.
Well, you came up here, it appeared that your chest just swole up with that selection, and the fact that you got to leave that room. Were you a little nervous as each selection went by that maybe you weren't going to get to go to any of the teams that you thought you'd interviewed with?
Yes, all the teams I had interviewed with already have picked, and I really was sitting back in the green room, really getting nervous. But I saw Sacramento coming over the second pick. I felt I had a good visit out there, and I felt they were really interested in myself, and I was hoping they picked me, and they did.
Well, you've got a great opportunity. There's a lot to build on there. You'll enjoy Dick Motta.
Thank you very much.
You said you'd like to go anywhere, make the most of any opportunity, but you also said growing up in Florida, playing in Texas, you didn't want to go to a cold weather city.
No, well, Sacramento is kind of cold for California, but I get enough clothes to take care of that situation. I'm just happy, and I thank God for giving me the opportunity to become an NBA player, and I'm really happy with the pick.
So is Sacramento. Let's go back to Bob Neal.
All right, so loading up with some guards at Sacramento, not only getting Bo Kimball, but remember they've got Gary Grant coming off the injury, with the Los Angeles Clippers. They've got Gary Grant coming off the injury too, so the LA Clippers are looking pretty good. In Sacramento now with the selection, we're going to come up next with Miami and their second selection. Let's talk about them.
Yeah, Doug, that one's, I think, going to be real interesting what they're going to come up with down there. I think they need somebody in the big power forward position, but the real top people have already been taken there. The next guy on the list as far as power forwards go would be Ala Abdelnaby from Duke. There's still also Dee Brown, one of the top guards who's out there, and I really, right now, it's hard to really say what they're going to do. They need a big player, but I'd like to get your opinion on this one.
Well, wouldn't be surprised to see them go Sanchez at 15, saying, hey, we'll take a gamble on him. We'll maybe play Cycli a little bit as a power forward. And now they've got Willie Burton, they've got Glenn Rice, they have Sherman Douglas. Is Sanchez a gamble at 15 with his talent? They've already had one pick. We'll find out what's going on.
Yeah, that could be a very interesting one. As you say, Cycli certainly can play the power forward position, so that might be worth it.
Yeah, so I don't confuse anybody, let me make it clear. Sacramento with Lionel Simmons with their first pick, then they came back with Travis Mays, and the Los Angeles Clippers got Bo Kimball, and then they came back with Loy Vaught, and I was talking about the Los Angeles Clippers loading up with guards. If Harper and Grant come back, they're going to be a pretty healthy club too.